Hello, it's Shaun, and welcome back to the YouPotential podcast. Today, I want to start out with a question, an important question. Who are you? No, really, think about it for a second. Who are you? Not your job title or your Instagram bio, not even your personality that you got these results from. I want to know who you are underneath all of it. You know, that question might sound big, or maybe for some people, it might even sound uncomfortable. But your answer, or perhaps your inability to answer, says a lot about who we are. Because our identity shapes how we move through our life. Because whether we realize it or not, we're all carrying around stories about who we are. These stories actually shape everything. They guide us on how to behave, what we chase, what we avoid, who we believe we are, and who we believe we're not. Our identities aren't just labels. They're actually lenses on how we see the world. They're internal scripts we don't often even know we're following. This week on the podcast, I sat down with Matthew Barnaby, a retired NHL player known for his grit, heart, and let's be honest, his knack for getting under people's skin and his fights. But what made this conversation so powerful wasn't just the stories from the ice, it was how he clearly understood his role, his identity that he played with. You see, Matthew Barnaby wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the most skilled player either. On paper, the odds weren't in his favor, but he had something else, a deeply held belief in who he was. Matthew shared how hard it was to retire when he had to take off that jersey, and the Matthew Barnaby who used to get thousands of people screaming at him are no longer there. When you worn the same identity for years, hockey player, agitator, warrior, fighter, letting go can feel like losing part of yourself. It requires grieving, and a lot of us know that feeling. Whether it's career changes, becoming a parent, losing someone you love, starting over, transitions shake our identities. But maybe that's part of the whole point. Later in our conversation, we ended up talking about money, not as a strategy, but rather as a mirror. It was interesting, as Matthew shared, he grew up with very little money. He was in poverty. Then, suddenly, he had more than he could ever imagine signing his NHL contracts. But it didn't actually fundamentally change him, he shares. He said something that really stuck with me. I'm happy not because I was able to buy a cottage and a boat. I'm happy because I'm Matthew Barnaby. And that's it. Sure, there might be a little bit more nuance to that. The lesson here is, unless we're grounded in who we are, our stories, our narratives, none of that will land. Because identity, real identity, it's internal. It's not your net worth. It's not even your job title. It's not your possessions. It's how you see yourself when everything else is stripped away. And maybe that's why Matthew could move from poverty to wealth and still staying grounded in who he was. Sure, money increased his ability to spend and what he was spending on, but his identity was still there. It was something he already owned. When we know who we are, we stop relying on money or external validations to tell us who we want to be. And when our identity is anchored inside, not outside, we can become more resilient in life, in transitions, and even how we relate to money and beyond. To hear, despite all the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs that Matthew experienced, he had a sense of contentment in who he was. And it seemed like that was rooted in his strong identity of being Matthew Barnaby. I hope you enjoy this fascinating conversation with my guest, Matthew Barnaby. Matthew Barnaby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited. We've tried to do this a few times. So one was a broken foot. Yesterday was no power. If it didn't work today, your number was getting deleted out of the out of my numbers. Too many bad lucks. Third time was a charm.
Third time worked. Well, I appreciate that. And how's the foot?
It's much better. Much better. It doesn't heal quite as good as when you're 25 and you're 52, but it is much better. And it was under my own stupidity at F1, out with buddies late night and laughing at people tripping over curbs. And who ends up tripping over the same curb? This guy right here.
Um, it seems like you have many of those types of stories after reading your book. Um, late night out for drinks seems to be perhaps a consistent theme.
It is. I pick my places way better now at 52 years old because the recovery time, and that's why I'm at the cottage a lot in the summer, get away from people and relax and spend a lot of quality family time. So yeah, definitely I've had a lot of great nights out. Some I probably wish I could take back, but listen, some great memories, a few regrets, but a lot of great times.
You know, I really enjoyed reading your book. You said you're 52, so I'm 12 years younger than you. I got to watch you. I really enjoyed watching you as a Canadian kid. I mean, this is what we do. We watch hockey. Watching number 36 smile, laugh, fight, score some goals. And I had, as we do, made I guess, an idea or identity of who Matthew Barnaby was just from watching you on TV. Reading the book, it just opened up my eyes to, like, we all have these stories underneath the waterline or underneath the jersey, so to speak, for you.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to diving into Matthew Barnaby, the hockey player, but also Matthew Barnaby, the individual. But my first question is probably the most important one. Did you enjoy chirping? And this is a Canadian word for the American listeners. Did you enjoy chirping guys more for the laughs or because it actually got under their skins for you to win?
Definitely the latter. Listen, it was a different era back then, and I probably would be suspended for every single game if I played in today's age. So you have to certainly understand the evolution of the game, and but it was all about winning. It's all about having them pissed off, having them come after me, slash me. If I can get them off their game, that's what I was trying to do. And when you go into opposing teams, rinks, you want to be villain number one. You want to be the most hated guy. And if anyone said, oh my God, I love playing against you, obviously I wasn't doing my job well. And if fans says, oh my God, I grew up loving the Philadelphia Flyers, loved watching you play. No, I wanted you to hate me, despise me. I want to say the nastiest things that you'll come after me and slash me. And then we're going to get a power play. We're going to score a goal. And it'll, obviously it's even more prevalent in the playoffs because it feels that much better. But when I drew a guy into a penalty because of something I said or did, and we scored a goal off it because he retaliated, that was equally as fun as scoring a goal for me. So definitely the latter.
You said a few things there that I really caught in your book. And one was win at all costs. You strike me as a guy who he's going to win at all cost. Perhaps that was fuel for your successful NHL career, 14 years. But also this idea of you're going to chirp a guy, you're going to get him under the skin. You're living this persona and this identity. I think with all of us beyond hockey, we all have these identities. And I'm really interested in this Matthew Barnaby, the agitator identity that I think we'll go into that. But before this win at all cost, I mean, what struck me as quite insightful, or I was impressed when you were talking about in the book at 14, 15, and 16, you were cut from the AAA hockey team. So this would be, people who don't know, hockey is like the higher levels of hockey at a young age. And usually if you're cut from those teams, you're not playing meaningful hockey, but yet here you are 14 years later in the NHL, 14 seasons, 853 games, when I believe the average NHLer plays less than 300 games. Looking back with all this hindsight, what was going on to the 14-year-old self, Matthew Barnaby, that just said, I'm going to win at all costs?
Yeah, I mean, no one likes to get cut. And the one thing, probably the major reason why I was cut at those ages was because I hadn't hit puberty yet. I was very, very small, 13, 14, 15-year-old. It wasn't until I hit like 16 where I went from like 5'2" to 6 feet. So I had a lot of talent growing up. Like any guy that played in the NHL, they were organically the best player probably on most of their teams. I grew up in an area in Ottawa where there was a lot of good players that went on to play NHL, college, and I just hadn't grown yet. So there was a lot of days where I doubted myself at that age and whether this was worth it and whether I should just quit and work. And it's tough getting cut once, tough getting cut twice, but when you get cut for a third time in a row, listen, I had some self-doubt there, and I actually quit for a little bit and went to work with my brother, and my brother worked in a lumber yard, and that lasted about a month, and I was like, screw this. This is really hard work. And not that I had illusions of grandeur that I was going to play in the NHL at 16 years old after being cut, but I was like, man, I'm going to give it my best effort. And I wasn't, I hadn't been a partier because I was really delayed in just my maturity level all the way around, but mostly physically. So I started working out twice as hard and twice a day, and not going to parties, and working on my skills. And, that translated into having a good year when I was 16, even though I was cut and still open up the eyes of some scouts because I had grown and people hadn't seen me from like the year before, whatever it may be. And I was last overall pick. So there's a chapter in my book called Mr. Irrelevant. And essentially I went, from being cut 3 years in a row to being the last overall pick to now going on to junior, and still I developed a little bit, but now I'm going against not only 16 and 17 year olds, I'm going against 18, 19, 20 year olds that are now way more developed than me again. So, I had to kind of met the crossroads and like, how bad do you really want it? And for me, it was finding a way to agitate and find this new persona that I'd never really had before. I've always been one of those guys that loves to engage with his friends and tease his friends and love getting teased back, kind of be an agitator that way. But now I incorporated fighting into it, being this agitator and taking on this persona that I want everyone to hate me. And it's the best thing I could have ever done because it's really served me well, and it's given me a persona off the ice. But people that get to know me when I do a bunch of events or like you, I'm completely the different person than I am there. I'm more tranquil. I like to have fun and have a great time. But I'm much more polite, and I think I have a lot more to offer than just being this goon on the ice.
And I got to meet you at a hockey tournament, and yeah, you weren't chucking knuckles at the charity tournament, that's for sure.
No. I like to have too much fun. I love to tease. I love getting teased. All my best friends, listen, if someone kisses my ass, you're probably out as a friend. Like I want someone to treat me like I'm Matthew Barnaby, the guy that grew up and didn't grow up with much and was from a poor family, not Matthew Barnaby that played 15 years or 14 years in the NHL. That listen, I get a lot of that. And I love that I played in the NHL. I love answering questions. I love telling stories. But my true friends know I'm just Matthew Barnaby that loves to go to the cottage, have a beer, play golf. That's my life.
That sounds pretty fun. So I want to go back to, though, I'm just so interested about this drive, though, like whether it's NHL or not. You mentioned that 14, 15, 16, you didn't really think you were going to make the NHL, but yet there was something underneath that started building this persona that started or kept you pushing, whether it's going to junior, etc. What would you, I mean, it's hard to put your finger on what it was, but looking back, where was that drive coming from?
I've always wanted to be, listen, I played every sport growing up. I played football, I played soccer at an elite level, I played baseball at an elite level, and I hate to lose. I never won a Stanley Cup, but just losing sucks. Like winning is great, but losing is way worse. And I whether it was track and field or cross country running, I always wanted to win. Like I hate losing. I even pick up tennis if we play or basketball. I'm not going to let my son, who's 27 now, I'm not going to let him beat me in golf or play little mini sticks with him. I used to drive him absolutely furious because I wasn't going to let him beat me ever until he was ready to beat me. And when he's able to beat me in golf and able to beat me, hey, time to take it on and go to the next level, because that is evolution, obviously. But I hated to lose. And I also, one of my big things and one of my big mottos, and it's my next tattoo, is a tattoo that says PPW. It's just prove people wrong. A lot of people doubt you in all stages of life. When I was 14, 15, 16, then going to junior, then you can't make it to the NHL, and then you make the NHL, then you have this job. Well, you're not good enough broadcaster. Then I just want to always keep proving people wrong. My wife says PPR or PYR, prove yourself right. Like I'm a very confident person, but you don't always have to prove people wrong. But I've always used that as fuel. And it's just the way I live my life every single day, that I want to be the best at whatever I do. It doesn't mean I'm going to be the best, but I want to be the best.
Right. Well, I
And you're
mean,
going to have failures. You're going to have failures, right? Everyone has stories. There's stuff that I regret doing or that I wish I could take back, but it also forms on who you are going forward. And if you don't learn from your mistakes and learn, like, you can do this, you can do that, or you should do this, or you should work harder at this, maybe I need to allocate more time. This is just business in general. I always want to be as successful as I can. That doesn't, I mean, obviously equating it to money and trying to make more money. I do that every day. I'm always trying to think of ways to reinvent myself, because as you get older, you're trying to think of new ways to reinvent yourself. Because you retire at such a young age. I retired at 35 years old. I'm 52, and I haven't had a serious job in a long time. Working in the media was great and that, but listen, I can't say I work for a living, and that's very fortunate, because I'm able to parlay events and speaking engagements, and I love telling stories, which is, probably the most fun I have.
Have you ever had a real job, a 9 to 5?
I worked at McDonald's to start, so yeah.
Oh,
that
okay.
was that was like, I think 6 in the morning. I don't think I got the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have the 6 o'clock in the morning. That got old, taking the buses to work at McDonald's for, I think, probably $5.30 an hour back when I was doing it. I worked for my uncle for years in sanding and lacquering railings in new builds, and actually became awesome, because my uncle treated me great and I worked really hard. But that was really hard. And then I worked in a lumber yard for a summer. That is hell. People do not work in a lumber yard, because if you want to know how hot it is in the summer, from like 6 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, that is hell. That's what fueled me to go back. And again, growing up poor, not that I thought I was going to make the NHL, but once I knew it was even close, well, then the work ethic even became more and more, because I grew up poor. I didn't have a lot. I never went on vacation except for to play hockey and do that kind of stuff. So, not wanting to deal with that the rest of my life certainly fueled me.
You mentioned the lumberyard. Your brother, is it Brent or Brett?
Brent.
Or Brent. He worked in the lumberyard?
Yeah, he worked there for probably 30 years. So yeah, he worked, and he's like, "Hey, you want to work? Let's work. You're not gonna like it." And he was right. I didn't like it. The wake up calls at 4:30 when I went there, and then I came back, and then I was trying to train at the same time, but you're too tired to train. And he's like, "Are you ready to quit? Essentially, are you ready to like give this another shot?" And like, really? And I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. This is not for me. I am not a laborer. I don't mind working around the cottage, but I am not a laborer for sure."
Oh, you have a lot of stories about him in the book, and it strikes me that he had a large impact on who you've become. When you look back on those early years, I think you talked about there's quite an age gap. What role did he have on who Matthew Barnaby became?
Yeah, he was 14 years older than me. He didn't really live with us till I was probably 10 or 11. He was out doing his own thing. But certainly I didn't grow up with a father. I never knew my dad. It was only my mom, my grandmother, and my brother. So, being Canadian, and I loved hockey, but it was, it's almost like a cult mentality. You're going to play hockey, and if you don't play hockey, well, then you're going to do something else. But we're going to start with hockey. But I loved all sports, and he was always there. He was always throwing the ball with me. He was always taking me to batting practice. He was doing the extra, and he was like a father figure, because he was 14 years older. So he took on that role very, very well. And without him, I wasn't going to the extra practices, and, just financially needed his help to get sticks sometimes. And I was very fortunate to have 3 people that just wanted me to have the best life, maybe not the life that they grew up with. And I was kind of this next generation, but I love sports, and he's a massive, massive sports fan. So it just made, for a perfect niche between brother that's that much older, acting like a father figure almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I was reading it, like you talk about your mother, she tried to do her very best, a single mother raising you guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I grew up playing hockey, as many Canadians we do, and I just look at how much impact my father had by watching Hockey Night in Canada, taking me out to the outdoor rink, building a rink in the
Yeah.
backyard. And while, mothers can do that, the majority of them aren't necessarily doing it to the level that some fathers are doing it. And it seems like he was almost like you mentioned, kind of like a father figure in the sense that he brought you those late night shinny games on the outdoor rink and
Yeah.
help, I guess, challenge you in ways to play with the older kids, etc.
Yeah, and uh, I was a talented kid. I was always scoring goals as a kid. I was always a top scorer as I was younger and younger. And then obviously, the trials and tribulations of not hitting puberty early is a real thing. When you're a little boy playing against guys that are becoming men, it becomes that much harder. And I just think he installed. He knew I was talented. Again, I was very talented in all sports, and I'm not very useful if I'm running machinery or trying to turn on a TV and go from the HDMI cord. That's not my gig. That's the building furniture, not my gig. I'm not going to build a deck. Like, I'm completely useless in those things. You give me carrying stuff and cleaning, I'm your man. I'm a workhorse. But sports wise, I've always just been really good at all sports. So he said that's what you're good at. Do what you're good at and work hard. I never want to
Mm.
come back and say, listen, you're going to have bad games. And I've said this with my son. You're going to have bad games, but never let it be from a lack of effort. That's the unacceptable part. And I think I understood because we didn't have a lot of money. So getting a new stick at that time was like $40. If I broke a stick out of frustration, or I was going to hear about it and I was going to play with a broken stick for a few periods. Like,
Mm.
that's just was instilled into me. So yeah, work ethic just became a way that we did it.
Oh, that's great lessons. And I mean, something that really strikes me is those words that he said of encouragement when he went to the junior camp of stand
Yeah.
out at all cost. I mean, what an impact that had on your career, hey?
Yeah, it's the single most, you need great coaches and you need coaches to believe in you along the way. Everyone needs, I don't care if it's hockey or business, whatever it is, you need someone to believe in you at some point, and then you have to prove them right. Then you have to prove them right, right? Prove people wrong, prove people right. When someone believes in you, you're going to have failures, and I certainly did that along the way, and bad games and bad weeks, but you never want to disappoint someone that gives you that chance. That's when you're given a chance, you take it. You, you might not you might not be good enough. That's just a fact. You might not be smart enough to get through Harvard Law. You might not be good enough to play in the National Hockey League, but don't be, because it's a lack of effort. And I've seen so many guys that have. So going back in a long-winded response, the single most important thing that ever happened was I got a great coach in Beauport in junior, and Alain Cheney, who believed in me. And I had a brother that for some reason just came up with this line, because I didn't think I was going to make the team. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was strong enough physically to keep up with them. And I didn't think through first 2 days at camp that I was going to be sent home in the next couple of days. And he just uttered those words, just stand out. That's it. He didn't say fight. He didn't say do this. He didn't say do that. It wasn't a rah Rudy moment. It was just stand out. And I was like, all right, how do I stand out? Just something clicked in my head. And I was like, who's the toughest guy here? Like, it's going to be by trial and error. And I got beat up a lot in those next couple days. But best thing, the broken nose or the little cut under the eye, man, best words of advice ever.
I just love that story because if I recall, you talk about how, you were a talented hockey player, but I think this was still when you said you had a hard time turning right. And just
Yeah,
these guys were
yeah,
so much bigger than you due to lack of growing,
yeah.
but yet you make the team.
Yeah, it was a crazy few days. And I still remember that conversation with the coach after 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, now after day 2, I was like dejected and like, I'm not going to make this team. After day 6, after I'd started these shenanigans, essentially, I was like, okay, people are starting to take notice. The players are respecting me. Veterans are respecting me, and they aren't afraid of me because I'm 6 feet, 148 pounds. Like I'm a string bean. But fans are coming to the game and chanting my name, and I'm an English guy and don't speak French in a 99% French culture in Quebec City, and they start chanting your name, and I'm like, and I remember that conversation. He's like, we were going to keep 20 guys, but we love your work ethic. We love your never stop mentality. Essentially a Rudy kind of guy. Like this guy's never really going to play. We just love him. Um, and we're going to keep him around because we're an expansion team. We love his work ethic. And I was like, he's like, you might not play every night, but you're going to be here. And I was like, I felt like I had just won the lottery or I just got drafted first overall in the NHL. That's how proud and excited I was. And I was like, okay, now I have an opportunity. Now this is what got me here. So this is my MO now. This is my cheat code. There's going to be a lot of painful nights because there's a lot of big guys in junior at that time. So, and there certainly was, but I remember that conversation and calling back home, and it was awesome. Just awesome.
Broody, what a show. What a movie. So this sounds like this is where the identity of Matthew Barnaby, the agitator, was born.
Yeah. Again, I grew up agitating like my friends and this and that. I was never afraid as a small kid. I was always in the mix, but this was next level. This was the agitator. This was now when you agitate back in those days, the thing that comes with agitating is you're going to drop the gloves with someone 6'5", 240. And I never wanted to be the guy that agitated and didn't respond, didn't answer the bell per se. If I'm going to agitate, now I might not do it at that time because I want to draw you into penalties. It's all about winning. It's all about winning. Get them to take penalties. But if we're up 5-1 or down 5-1, and I've been saying this about this guy's girlfriend or talking about how bad a player he is or whatever it may be, I'm going to answer the bell, even if I got my ass kicked, because I can't look myself in the mirror if at some point I'm just running my mouth and not backing it up.
I appreciate that from your hockey, as a hockey player. There are many of the ones who don't answer the bell.
Yeah, those are the ones that aren't respected. I never wanted that to be. I was like, hey, if I'm going to run it and this is going to be my persona. This is what I'm trying to portray. Almost like when I get to the hockey rink, I'd be afraid of fighting, whatever it may be. But when I got to the rink, it's like I became Matthew Barnaby, the WWE wrestler. I took on a different mentality, persona once I walked in that room. And once I walked back out of that room, I was a completely different guy. Now I'm always fun loving and I love to joke around, but I don't want to fight you at a bar. I want to joke around. I want to have a good time. And I love having a great time. But yeah, I almost stepped into a different persona once I walked through those doors of the rink.
It's interesting you say that. I think we all have, whether it's our hockey jersey going over our head and boom, it's like the Superman cape or a suit and tie, whatever it is. We have this ability to step into these personas. And it's interesting you mentioned wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling and these guys were larger than life, but they stepped into these personas. And I've heard you talk about like hockey, especially an agitator role. It's entertainment. And here you are like playing in the NHL or junior and people are just cheering your name, yelling at you. I mean, what does that do to a guy? Just
I think it's probably like everyone loves to hear you're doing great. Your kids love to hear, hey, you're doing great at school, or great game. Like everyone loves that. Now you take that, now put 18,000 fans in the stands and chanting your name. Everyone loves it. Everyone has some type of ego. You've got to be a weird person, I think, if you don't like accolades and people liking you, like especially your own people. And for the opposite, I wanted to be hated so much on the road and by the opposing teams and fans, but I wanted to be adored by my fans and my teammates. Like that meant equally as much to me that my fans appreciated me and that my family and everyone around me was proud of me. And I went into every game thinking like, play it like it's your last game. And my brother said to me after my first year, I might have been, let's just say, lazy in the third period of one game in my first year in the NHL. And he's like, you quit tonight. Like essentially, like, what were you doing? I was like, oh, we're down 5-1. He's like, all right, I get it. Like, you're not coming back. There's 10 minutes left, but you're being lazy. And he was, just think of that little kid that might only be able to spend, or that parent might be only bring their kid to one game, and you're their favorite player. Like, what are you saying to them? Like, you're in the entertainment business too. You're there to win. You're there to compete, but you're not going to win every game. That kid might only get to one game, and you might be his favorite player. And in the last 10 minutes, he's saying, man, he's dog shit. He's not giving it. I was like, fair. It is entertainment. It's entertainment. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you're trying to win a sport, but you're also trying to entertain.
Your brother strikes me as this like beacon of inspiration that comes in certain moments in your career. Cause even that there, like,
yeah,
what a powerful story he gives you.
And he's the most simple person in the world. He doesn't care about clothes. He doesn't care about material things. He's just a good guy that loves sports. And again, he wanted the best for me. And he was always very, very honest. If I played well as a kid, he was like, hey, great game. Man, you had 5 points tonight, but it wasn't your best game. And then 2 weeks later, I'd have 0 points. He'd be like, man, that's the best I've seen you play in a while. Like, man, you hit a couple crossbars. You were physical. You never gave up. You were tenacious on the puck. So it never correlated with scoring points. And there's nights, like I said, I'd have 4 points, and he'd be like, hey, wasn't your best night? I'd be like, I had 4 points. And then 2 weeks later, he gets 0. I'm like, trying to comprehend the rationalization, because it is about scoring. And he's like, goals will come and go, but your work ethic dictates your success, essentially. So for a guy very simple, he certainly has helped me out along the way, and his commitment is equally as great as mine. And I can't even leave out my mother or my grandmother as well. They were so supportive, and it was never about playing great or making the NHL. We never talked about that. It was just about playing hard, have fun, and listen, give it your best.
I mean, it seems like that support and that like undenying support from those three you just explained, your mother, grandmother, and brother, probably allowed you to step into this persona and this identity. If I fail, I'm supported by them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, like, it wasn't about the NHL, like you just said. No, they were supporting you.
Yeah.
With that being said, 1992, the NHL draft, you get selected by Buffalo. What was their reaction? Like, what kind of conversations did you guys have that, like, it wasn't about it, but holy shit, you did it?
Yeah. Well, because my first year, I had like 9 goals and 5 assists, I think 14 points. I broke my wrist, but I wasn't supposed to make that team. So me just playing that year was, awesome. I came back in the summer, hanging out with my buddies and working out, having a great time. But I wasn't on any NHL radar after my first year of junior, because I went to junior a year late because I wasn't developed and I got cut, obviously. My second year, I get named assistant captain right away, and I get off to a really good start. Again, not thinking NHL. I'm just having fun playing junior hockey and working my ass off. And I've created a little bit of a persona now in my first year, because I was fighting the Gino Ojics and Sandy McCarthy's and Donald Brashear, whoever it may be. Big boys. And like, I was giving up probably 70 to 80 pounds against these guys in my first year. So now I gain weight in the off season. I work out pretty hard, and like, I'm working out twice a day. Like, I'm running. I'm trying to get a lot bigger. So I gain like 20, 22 pounds in the off. So I come back stronger, have a good camp, get off to a really good start. And literally at Christmas, again, I'm not talking to any NHL teams. It's my scouting year, my second year. And a list comes out at Christmas, and my name's on this list as like a B prospect. And I'm like, well, this is cool. This is amazing. And my brother's calling me, and there's no text back then. There's no online. It's just in the paper. And he's like, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, like this is crazy. Well, after that came out, literally the next 3 months was scout after scout after scout after the game coming to watch. And you know when they're in the stands, you know where they are, you know where they're located, you see their jackets. And now I amp it up and I have a good year. So it was crazy being literally cut 2 years earlier to 2.5 years later getting drafted in the NHL. It's just a wild. I knew I was going to get drafted when I went to the draft. Like I knew at this point I am getting drafted. Didn't know where. I thought Quebec City, and yeah, it was just a wild thing. And it's funny because you sit around this table, and I sat around with John Muckler, who was our coach, and Jeremy GM, and the guy that scouted me was a guy named Larry Carrier, who followed me for a while. And he was just a great man and loved the way I played. And he said, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, we really like you, but want to keep seeing. So the one question they had for me around the room was, okay, you're fighting boys. I'm like, not really. Like, these guys are pretty good guys. Now, I know it's the NHL and they're men, but he's like, you're in Detroit on a Saturday night. Bob Probert, he's the toughest guy in the NHL. He asked you to fight at 8:08 or whatever the time it was. He goes, what would you say? And they're thinking like, probably like going to come up with some answer. Yeah, of course I'd say yes. And I don't know why I said it. And I'm usually pretty quick on my feet. And I just like, I wouldn't. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, I would have already asked him to fight at 8:02 or whatever the time it was. And Larry Carrier, who drafted me, who was the guy that drafted me, literally looked at them and said, I told you, this kid's different. This kid is way, way different. And they just concluded the meeting and shook my hand and said, hey, if you're there where we think you should be slotted, we're going to take you. So right then I knew I was going to get drafted at some point. I thought it was anywhere from late second to the fifth, essentially. But it was the year that the first Europeans, all the Russians came over. So kind of pushed me back to the fourth, which, listen, I was just excited. Didn't matter if I went last overall again. It wasn't going to change how I was going to approach the next level.
That attitude, I've already asked him. I mean, this is your win at all costs. Or I think Cheney called you the little kamikaze speaking, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I start the book and I start when I do motivational speaking for companies or youth events or sports teams, whatever it may be. It's funny, as I went through this, I play with a lot of talented guys that should have made it. I know a lot of people that are very smart that don't get to that next level, business-wise, financial, whatever it may be. And I use this again with everyone in every walk of life. Everyone always says they're willing to do anything, like anything, to make it. It's a lie. It's a fallacy. Everyone says it, though. Everyone says, I will do anything. I will do anything to work for your company. All right, get here at 4:30 in the morning, leave at 7 o'clock at night. Are you willing to do that for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it is? And most of the time, the answer is no. Are you willing to fight someone 10 times in a year to make the NHL because you're a really good player? And if you add this dimension, I've had this conversation with guys that play in the American League that should be playing in the NHL. If they added that, and I'm not condoning fighting, but I'm also not going to be a hypocrite. There's a place for guys to still do that job. And the answer for them is no. But then I'll read an article that says I'm willing to do anything to make the NHL. And I'll hear from friends when we're sitting around and like, oh man, I wish I made another 50 grand or 30 grand or an extra 200, whatever it may be. I'm like, but you're not willing to start here. You just want to get it. And then once you get it, now you're willing to do anything. You're willing to work 4:30 in the morning and 7 o'clock at night if they're going to guarantee you making $300,000 a year. Well, yeah, anyone would. but you got to start somewhere. You got to start at the bottom and get to the top. And unfortunately, I don't want to get into this, but our new society is we want to get everything and then work our way back. Like essentially, you
Don't
you
make
want
it
everything
hard
given
for
to you.
me. Don't make it hard.
Yeah, yeah, no.
I'm not
It's
going to do
always
the
the
work.
coach. It's always the coach's fault, the teacher's fault, the parents'
Yeah.
fault. It's never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that comment because as I was hearing your story, I was like, this guy was handed nothing like you.
Yeah.
Like you could have easily done this person's fault, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it seemed like you were the guy who laced up the skates, put the stick in his art, maybe dropped the gloves, whatever it is. You did the work.
Yeah.
And you're right. I feel like it's a lost art doing the work.
It's doing the work's everything, showing up. And listen, I've been wrong so many times with different coaches and the way I've handled things with, getting traded from Buffalo with Lindy Ruff and Ted Nolan. That was about being loyal. And I've made mistakes that I wish I can go back and I don't regret a lot because I was always trying to stay in the moment of how do I maximize my earning potential for my family. I didn't have a dad growing up. I wanted my kids not to want for anything. And listen, I had a great childhood despite not having money, but I also wanted more for my kids and more opportunity. Having said that, it's about work. It doesn't matter what you do, and this isn't hockey. This is life. If I'm just not gonna like what happens when you're retired, people just aren't calling you, offering you jobs. That's not how it works. You got to start to grind. Now I want to get into media. So how do you watch tapes over and over? You watch the people you like. You try to organically put yourself in how you want to be portrayed as, I never wanted to be just this goon or this jokester. I wanted to be intelligent with the same thing, having fun. I think Kevin Bieksa does an amazing job. I think he's probably the best out there. Paul Bissonnette has done a great job in taking himself to the new level, but it wasn't given to him. That guy wasn't even barely an NHL player, but he's put in the work and he found a niche and he found what works. And now everyone's trying to copy Paul Bissonnette. So that's kind of how I was, but before the social media age is how I wanted it.
Mm-hmm. You talk about like you made mistakes, and I appreciate this idea of like I don't hold regrets per se. I heard John Hedman. He was the national soccer coach for the females that they went to the World Cup, and he did very well with them. He talked about getting players to like the razor's edge. His job as a coach to get them the razor's edge, but not go over. As someone like yourself who's all in, I mean, you yourself created a 14-year career. It wasn't handed to you. It's making me think of, I heard you talk about Alexander Daigle, how it was going to be handed, but he wasted that. Yeah. Anyways, that's a side note. Yeah. Do you think you or anyone else who is going to the razor's edge can actually go through a career not making mistakes? I don't
know. And it's a question. It's a great question. I've actually never been asked that question in probably 1,000 podcasts and another 3,000 interviews. It's a great question. It's absolutely impossible. Impossible. It's the hardest thing in game to be the player how I played. And you look at like Brad Marchand's a magician at how he does it because of how good a player he is on top of it, which I didn't have that level, which if I did, or Matthew Tkachuk, like those guys are brilliant. It's impossible not to go over the edge sometimes because you're playing with such emotion. And when you're playing with such emotion, there's going to be times that you can't control it. Now, for 98% of the time, that's what makes the really good agitators and very successful, because for 98% of the time, you're able to rein it in. But of course, you're going to go over the top sometimes. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. Of course, you're going to have some fights with some players on your team and some coaches and some management, because what makes you successful is emotion. That's everything. So if you're going to say, well, your emotions are too high, that's me as a player, that's me as a person. And that's me as a father. That's me as a friend. I'm going to battle with some of my friends sometimes. I'm going to battle with my kids sometimes because I'm going to be honest, and I expect a lot out of my friends. I have a small knit group of friends that we all have acquaintances and people that we're friendly with, but I have a small group of friends, and I demand out a lot out of them, and they demand a lot out of me. And you're going to make mistakes, but I'm also going to be honest. And that's got me into trouble because everyone says they want honesty until you're honest,
Yeah.
right?
It's like,
Everyone wants honesty. And I can be called out and said, listen, Barney, you played like shit tonight. In the moment, I'm emotional. I'm probably going to come back at you, but then I'm going to self-reflect and be like, you know what? I can be better. I want to see that tape. I want to see what you're seeing, and I want to be better. Then now I'm going to put the work in to be better in this situation. But you're not just going to like say something. Of course, I'm going to come back. I'm a proud guy, right? So yes, again, another long-winded, but I've never heard that question before, and it's a great one because it's impossible to be emotional in anything and not go over that line at some point.
yeah, and it's people demand, whether it's sports or beyond sports, like don't demand, but maybe they expect us, or in your case, the coaches expected you to play on that razor's edge. But I feel like sometimes we don't have enough grace for people. Yeah, we're gonna screw up. Like if you want me here, mistakes will come.
Yeah. And I coached I coached my son for 10 years and all his buddies, and some went on to play in Europe and some in the AHL, and a lot played in college. I used to always tell them, if you make a mistake because you're working your ass off and you just make a dumb bonehead decision, I can live with it. I'm fine. There's nothing worse. Like, everyone knows when they screw up, like especially pro athletes. Like, you know if you missed your guy or this, but if it happens because I'm not working hard, I want you to lose your mind. And I used to tell kids, you make a mistake because you're working your ass off, you just make a bonehead decision, you're going right back out next shift. If you're being lazy, you're probably going to sit for a period. You're going to understand that's not the way that we play, and it's not the way that I want to coach, and I'm not helping you if I don't tell you. So yeah, you make a mistake working hard, hey, mistakes are going to happen. That's life. That's just anything.
This idea of Matthew Barnaby, the persona of this agitator who plays every night. Well, I guess your brother, some periods he caught you not on razor's edge, but called you out for those. But for the most part, this is defined as your career. You were or you still are, but in like the juniors, you had over 100 points your final year, and you go to the NHL and you're playing with, the elite. This is the best league in the world.
Yeah.
You develop this persona. And you nailed it for 14 years. Did you ever feel boxed in by the persona you created, or was it just something you're like, this is me, this is it?
I never felt that. I was very fortunate. If you look at the correlation between playing in Buffalo with Brad May and Rob Ray, two tough SOBs. I had great point years, 31, 43, playing with them. Because they took the pressure off of me having to fight the heavyweight every single night. I could decide who and when, not that I was afraid to fight the heavyweights, but I didn't have to fight the heavyweights. So they shielded me on a lot of nights. And then when I decided, I would fight them, but I wanted to play. So my correlation with points to playing with other guys that could do the same job and help out. I go to Pittsburgh, I'm the only guy for a while. My point totals drop because now I'm looking over my head, over my shoulder every shift. When's Stu Grimson coming? George LaRocque, Bob Probert. It's not a great way to, when you're not the biggest guy, to be able to score points. So yes, the answer is absolutely, but I didn't realize it until my career was over. Didn't realize it because everyone says I scored 300 points and had 2,562 or 52 minutes, whatever it is, 236 or 246 fights. Everyone says, like, you were a good player, like you could score. You had 19 goals one year and you missed 10 games. You went to Colorado, you had 9 points in 13 games. You in the playoffs in 97, 98, you had a hat trick and you had 13 points in 15 games. You were top 5 in scoring until you got knocked out. I was like, do you ever wish that you didn't fight as much and scored more? And it's a great question. I'd never even thought about it being boxed in to my role, which I created, and I have no regrets. No regrets that I did that role. Because I think when you look back, there's a lot of guys that had 450 or 500 points that just concentrated on playing hockey and just that was their style. And you don't remember the guys. And I'm not saying like I want to be remembered, but my career wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have been looked at the same if Matthew Barnaby just had 450 points with 800 penalty minutes. I don't want to say respected because that's not the word I'm looking for. But I played a style that had 300 points and 25. I could have scored 500 points in the National Hockey League is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I with the amount of ice time and how I played, I couldn't get 500 points with the way I played and the amount of ice time that I got fighting 236 times and playing that role, because that role took on a whole different meaning and I couldn't play the same way. So yes, boxed in, no regrets, but I could have had a lot more points.
You know,
it's hard to play when guys. It's hard to play when Bob Probert's chasing you around all game and think of scoring a goal. Like it just doesn't come in. Like you're looking over every shoulder. You're just like, where are they coming today? And then you go into the next night and you're playing Stu Grimson and he's looking and you're looking over your shoulder. You're like, the last thing you're thinking about is scoring a goal. You're like, how do I survive this period?
You're not cutting across the ringette line doing a toe drag, trying to get a top corner
No,
with your head
not
down?
back then. No, you're met with an elbow right to the jaw.
Yeah. I really like your answer because I do recognize it, a bit of a challenging question because it's in the past, but as you're answering, I hear like a good recognition. Like, I know I could have done this, get 500 points, etc.
Yep.
But I accept, I didn't. I lived the Matthew Barnaby persona that you apparently you loved because that's the way your whole career went. But also, I see a commitment to the team. Like you get traded to Pittsburgh, and then I think Tampa Bay as well. They didn't have a fighter, and
Yep.
you're fighting Stu Grimson. For people who don't know these people, they are much bigger than you.
Yep.
You're
5 inches,
fighting
5 inches, 60 pounds.
So it seems like the commitment to the team is there. And while, you had some disagreements with coaches, who doesn't?
Yeah.
The commitment to the team is there. And perhaps if you didn't continue to have that enduring persona of like Matthew Barnaby is going to be the fighter when he needs to be called on, teammates wouldn't have respected you so much. You said, I don't know if I remembered. I can't remember. You said my career is remembered. I think you are really respected as a guy who went out there and played with his heart on his sleeve. And I would have to say tons of people respect that. I mean, all the forwarding on from Messier and Lindros and other people I've heard talk about you is, you hear this a lot, is I'd hate to play against him, but love to play with him. But I think you're really one of those guys.
I think when I look back at it and go into that question, because it's a great question. Is Matthew Barnaby more valuable to your team getting 47 points a year and playing a completely different style? Or is he way more valuable to your team playing the style that he does, getting 30 points a year? I think unanimously every GM and coach and player would say, we'll take the guy that scores 30 points in the style, because those extra 17 points along the way, it's not going to correlate into more wins. Maybe half a game, maybe one game. And a lot of, when you're in negotiations, a lot is like correlated. Matthew Barnaby at 30 points playing and being an asshole is going to correlate maybe into 2 extra wins or 3 extra wins a year because you're drawing a penalty. So anytime I'd have negotiations, that would be a whole part of it. And I'd be like, oh, you got, I'd be like, I can score more points if you want, but I think this guy's way more valuable to your team at this. And they all agreed. They all agreed.
You know, I think that being involved in sports like I am is like this. You have a guy who shows up, not only like you got the team at power play, but a guy who shows up every practice, every game. And if he doesn't show up this way, his brother's going to call him out, who's showing up to play at Razor's Edge. And
my mother would call me out too.
Okay, well,
my mother would call me out too.
But you're playing at the Razor's Edge, whether it's 5-11 minutes, people notice that. If people, if you're Alexander Mogilny and you're feeling off because your tummy hurts, I have no idea if his tummy ever hurt, but you see Matthew Barnaby go out there and drop his gloves against Stu Grimson, maybe you're like, okay, I got to go get a goal. So,
and every time I draw a penalty, it was a bad one, and I'd be like, Patty LaFontaine would come back and he's like, hey, killer, Bam Bam, a bunch of nicknames, and he'd be like, when they score, like it felt awesome for me. But when you'd have a guy like Pat LaFontaine come back after you just got cross-checked in the head and didn't respond, and they scored, and those guys, and Dale Howardchuck, God rest his soul, would come and give you a tap and be like, hey, that's your goal. Like that's your goal. That's a good feeling. That feels as good as scoring a goal when you know you just pissed off the other team. The other fan base hates you, but your captain or the guy that scored the goal comes back and goes, that's you. We don't get that goal without you. That feels as good, like equally as good. And I always said that. I used to tell people in the playoffs, I said, regular season, if I get jumped by 5 guys, come in. Like, it's regular season. I get jumped by 5 guys in the playoffs, I'll take the beating, guys. Like, let them kick the shit out of me. Let's go score a goal, win the game. That's my payment back. Don't worry. I don't want you to come in and help me. I'll take them on all by myself. I'll lose. And I have a weird, my wife says all the time, she's like, you do know you're weird, right? Like, you're like, you aren't afraid. And I don't know why I'm not. I just don't have the ability. It's going to hurt for a second, and it's not WWE. They really do try to hurt you in the NHL. And I've been 28 stitches and Darren McCarty. Love the guy. But yeah, I wish I was afraid more. Maybe I'd be prettier if I wasn't quite, if I was a little bit more afraid, but I don't. I have the innate ability to just not care, I guess, or just want to win so bad. I'm not sure which one.
It seems like it's just commitment to win. Like, this is what the team needs. This is my role in the team. So, Jared McCarty, let's go.
He hit me hard. 28 stitches. That was a great, good couple left ones. Guys, YouTube that one. He hits me pretty hard.
Were you laughing? Your MO of laughing
Not
and
on
smiling?
that one. I was still trying to throw a punch. And he goes, Barney, you're leaking oil. You're leaking oil good. And he let up a little bit. And I threw one more punch. And it was like someone turned a faucet on my forehead and literally just started pouring blood.
Ouch. So as we're talking about like this identity, Matthew Barnaby, number 36, or I don't know if he had different numbers throughout the years, but I always saw 36. Couple.
12 years, 36, yeah.
12, 30. Okay, so you're Matthew Barnaby, this agitator that does everything with the team, plays on Razor's Edge, but you get these punches to your head like the McCarty one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I understand it was Dr. Levy who eventually told you, Matthew, it's over. When your identity, your persona's wrapped up in Matthew Barnaby, the NHL instigator, when those crowds stop cheering because you're no longer in the rink, how did this impact your identity?
Yeah, that my last 2 fights was Shaun Thornton and Gratton from Phoenix, Josh Gratton, 2 very tough guys.
You went out hard.
And I got hit in them, but nothing crazy. I was 34 or 35 and nothing crazy. Listen, I'd taken, part of my MO was taking punches because I was smaller, getting them tired. And I was always in really, really good physical condition and I could outlast guys. So I'd always take punches and then try to get it on the back end. Both these guys, after both the fights, I'd driving home with my wife and I felt nauseous and sick and then headaches. And then I'd go blind in like one eye for a little bit, and it was a bad feeling. So, I consulted him, and I was getting near the end of my career. I probably could have stuck around for another year or two, but after consulting him, and he's a top neurologist in all the United States, probably the youngest chief of neurosurgery in probably the United States at the time, and a brilliant man. He's like, I've reviewed, we watched DVDs of my fights. He's like, dude, you're getting hit, you're getting hit, you're getting hit. And it's just the culmination of getting hit over and over that takes its effect. You're never knocked out. You're not one of those, but it's the cumulative effect of being hit over and over. He's like, you're a great dad. You love spending time. He goes, do you want to enjoy them, or do you want to make an extra few $100,000 and not enjoy your kids past the age of 50? I'm like, I want to spend time with my kids. Like, I'm already checking if my son scored in between periods or my daughter had a dance thing. So it was great advice from him. I didn't play the rest of the year in Dallas. They were amazing with me. And, appreciative for the Dallas Stars, Dave Tippett, Doug Armstrong, the whole organization for really supporting me and not making me feel like I wasn't a part of the team anymore.
And it sounds like this idea of taking off the jersey to lean into the next identity of Matthew, really, your kids sounded like that they were an inspiration or made this transition from the NHL superstar. I'm going to say superstar in your way. No one else does it like that. Anyhow,
Yeah.
to being a father, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you don't go out on your own terms, and even if you do go out on your own terms, like you win a Super Bowl, you win a Stanley Cup, and you retire, you still miss it. Like, do I miss the every night fighting? No, I'd be a masochist to say, oh my God, I miss fighting Stu Grimson on a Tuesday night in Pittsburgh. No, hell no. Do I miss getting ready for the game? Yeah. Do I miss the competition? Do I miss the winning? Yeah. Do I miss the losing? Yeah, too, because you're competing and you miss when you're an athlete, you want to compete. There's something on the line. And that's why I went back to in coaching. I got to feel those same kind of emotions. I'll never feel those emotions again. And it sucks. I'm never going to have fans with their fan chanting your name. That sucks. It's hard because you get put on such a pedestal, and you do alumni events and it's great, but it's not that competition. You miss the competition. You miss everything about it, and you miss being in the locker room. I'm fortunate where I do a lot of events where I still get to act like a kid and go party with these guys after and tell stories and reminisce about the good old days. And listen, I was stronger, I was faster, I was a better player when I recount these stories now than I was when I played. That's just called getting older and living in our glory days. But it's hard to retire when you do something you love, and especially as an athlete, you're never going to have that feeling again. You're never going to have that competition of playing against Philadelphia Flyers in the playoffs, and it means so much. And then when it's done, I don't remember that. Like, I remember competing and loving it, but I don't remember if I won or I lost. Like, one of the best games I've ever played in my life is we lost to Philadelphia in overtime 2-1 in a 5 overtime game. And we lost, but it was an amazing game. And you look back, it was freaking awesome. Everyone asked me what's the best story you have or favorite moment from playing? I go, for me, it's getting drafted. Like, those are things that I can't ever recreate. It's only in my mind. Only one person in this world knows how I felt. Of course, your family and your friends and that, but I remember. My heart still pounds thinking about getting drafted. So those are the things you miss. It's hard.
It sounds like you can't get over something. Like, the grieving process just continues on. It sounds like, because how do you replicate 19,000 Philadelphia Flyer fans hating you, but you loving it?
Yeah, and now, like, I get on Twitter after something, and I'll be like, man, I wish I played in Philadelphia. Like, that would have been a perfect place for me to play. I wish I would have played in the Canadian market. Would have been awesome. All you have is your memories, your stories, and you you try to, I wouldn't say, because I'm very happy with my life now, moving on and getting into media and doing podcasts and doing all those signs, playing golf, being with my kids, and all those things are awesome, but it's different. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell a lot of like people some of the stories that I encountered because they'll be like, there's no way. There's no way. You can read the book, you'll see it, but people will be like, no, there's no way some of these things happen. So, uh, great time. But when I look back at it, it's the thing you miss most is the competition, but the playoffs. Like again, you don't miss a Tuesday night fighting someone, but
Yeah.
man, playoffs are awesome because it's the ultimate competition to try to win a Stanley Cup. And it's such a hard thing to win. You have to be the right place, right time. And unfortunately, I was never in that right place at the right time.
Your answer just makes me think about like the idea of this podcast is like, how do we like make the most out of our life? Like enjoy this ride. Cause it's pretty short. I mean, hey, look at everything comes to an end, including your NHL career and our lives. But how
Yeah.
do we squeeze the juice out of it? And as I'm hearing your story, I don't know if there's, at least for yourself, a better way to squeeze the juice out of your journey than playing in the NHL. And as a kid who just dreamed of it myself,
Yeah.
I hear your story. I'm like, oh man, that would have been nice.
Yeah. And that's just again, it's such a big part of your life, but
Yeah.
it's again, I don't identify as Matthew Barnaby, the hockey player. And you can tell my friends, we go to a bar or we're at all inclusive in Mexico. I never even say my last name. If I introduce myself to you or someone in Mexico from wherever, hi, I'm Matthew. That's it. I will never say, hi, I'm Matthew Barnaby, because I don't want people to like me because I played hockey or like, I want you to like me because I'm nice to you and I respect you. And that part of my life is done. I want to be the best at broadcasting. I'm not going to be probably the best at broadcast, but I'm going to try to be. I'm going to be try to be the best dad. I'm going to try to. And are we going to fail along the way? Of course, you're going to make mistakes, and in whatever you do, people are going to make mistakes. But yeah, it's. I'm a perfectionist. That's for sure, and I love to work, and I love to try to find. My wife always says, "Do what you're good at. You're good at telling stories. You're good at this. You're a hard worker here, and no one's ever going to outwork me. That I can promise. I'm not going to be the smartest, not going to be the best, but no one's going to outwork me. And if I'm not going to get the job, it's because I'm not good enough. It's not because I wasn't prepared going into something. Might fail. They might pick someone else. Might be smarter. Might be better looking. But it's not because I got outworked. I can promise that.
I love that attitude. I want to get this idea of identities. I don't know. It's coming in as a theme, and I'm super curious. My background is in like the financial psychology domain. As a young guy coming into the league, we're going back into the NHL here.
Yeah.
Signing your bonuses, whether it's your entry level or just signing these contracts that pay more than McDonald's in the lumberyard.
Yeah.
What influence, if any at all, does that have on how you then show up to the rink and everybody else? Well, you know, it's not like everyone's getting paid the same. So I guess my question is, how have you observed money influences how the guys show up to the rink and how they present themselves?
Yeah, I think some guys are different. Some guys are just purely motivated by the money. Some guys are, you know, I think for the most part just want to be the best they can be. Everyone always thinks how they can monetize anything to the max. If not, you're leaving yourself short. Always think of how you can
Yeah.
monetize something to the max as long as it's legal. But I never went to the rink when I was making 250,000 my first year and Pat LaFontaine was making 5 million and been like, oh, I never even thought about it. I never
Okay.
thought about how much other guys made. I just went to them and be like, be the best damn player you can be, and you're going to get a bump. You're going to be. I was never jealous of Yager making 10 million because we need him. He does something I can't do, but maybe along the way, if you knew a guy was super lazy and just didn't really give a shit about the team, that would be the kind of conversations guys as a group and as a leader, like you would talk about, and then maybe go to management, like, can't win with this guy. Like, he's only motivated by the money. If you're only motivated by the money, you're not going to maximize yourself. You just won't. And that's in you put in the work, and if your work's good enough, you will be compensated. So I was never jealous. I'm not jealous that the guys make more now, or man, I was at an event last week in PEI, and a guy goes, "How much do you think you'd make these days?" I'm like, "Well, I'd make more. I don't know, like I'd probably make 3.5 million, 4 million a year on a." It's like, "Oh, you'd be 6." I'm like, "All right, well now you're really tearing me down. I wish I was making 6 million a year." But no, it's evolution. I don't begrudge anyone that made more or makes more now, because I look back to guys that were a generation before me that literally got out of hockey and have to work 9 to 5, and their pension sucks, and a lot of things. So I I'm not jealous of people that make more, and I'm very, very just, you know, content that I was able to do this for a living and parlay that into doing other things, and trying to make as trying to make as much financial freedom that I can have from not only myself but my kids.
Mhm. You said content, and as you've been talking, like I feel like I felt that you have this aura of contentment, but yet you're still pushing. Like going back to this identity, Matthew Barnaby, like, was I boxed in? Maybe, sure, but hey, I'm content doing this job, but I'm going to keep pushing. And could I make more money? Yeah, but I'm content with what I have. Um, I think that's a great quality, because too often we're peeking over our shoulder, looking at what other people are doing, and just not even living the life in front of us.
I, I like nice things because
Mhm.
I didn't grow up with a lot. Having said that, I I bought my house in Buffalo for $215,000 after my first year in the NHL. I had that same house, couple add-ons here and there. I had that same house for 20 years. I didn't need the $1 million or $2 million house. I didn't need the Lamborghini. I still don't. Do I want one day maybe want a really nice Corvette if I'm living in Mexico next winter and I'm fortunate? I live a great life, but I don't need stuff. I got a nice cottage. It's not a Muskoka $3 million cottage. It's a nice cottage, and I'm fortunate I get to spend a lot of time here. So I'm very content in my life.
Mhm.
I, I want to make as much money. If I have an event tomorrow that I can go make $15,000 or a speaking engagement, man, I'm going to go do it, because
Mhm.
I can't imagine turning down any event that I make some pretty good money, because I remember when I had no money,
Mhm.
and that extra 2 grand or 2,500, I can give it to my kids. And what is it, a day or two out of my life? So those things, money now motivates me still, but
Mhm.
it's not, it's because I didn't have it. And I want to give it to other people. And also I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. I love giving motivational speeches and talking to youth, and doing whatever it is through a company. I love those kind of things. I love meeting new people, and I also love learning. Like I love learning about different businesses. And I worked with an insurance company out of out of Moncton, trying to help them get their word out. So it yeah, I'm very, very fortunate, I guess. I think when I look back at it, because I say in the book, and my wife always corrects me, I always say, "Oh, I was lucky," and I kind of downplay how I got there and hard work it is. She's like, "You aren't lucky. You just
Mm.
committed to doing something," and she's right. Luck. You need people to believe in you. You need a little luck along the way. But the premise of any successful person, luck is winning a lottery.
That's
Luck
right.
is getting handed down money from family or a dad, whatever it may be, rich grandfather. Being successful in a business, you can be fortunate, but any successful person, it's not lucky. It's hard work.
You could be fortunate. I like that saying. Yeah, because like whether it's the business or your career, fighting 13 guys in that junior camp in 3 days isn't lucky. That's doing the
No,
work
no,
we're talking
no,
about.
stupidity.
Look what it did.
Worked out well. It
It
worked
worked
out
out
well.
well. So I'm curious. You grew up, like you said, without much money, and then you you didn't go to financial literacy school like many NHL players.
Yeah.
You get handed, I believe your first check you talk about in the book was $30,000. It was broken up into bonus.
Yeah.
How do you or other NHL players or athletes like know what to do with money when, like, you know, you're growing up not working, trying to be an athlete, and then boom, here you go. Here's millions of dollars.
I'd say it's way easier now. And my signing bonus was 90 grand, but it was 3 installments of 30 grand. Man, I got that first check for $30,000. I thought I was Bill Gates, man. I literally, it was a dick waving moment. I was like, I'm the man. I probably have $4 in my account right now, and I'm walking into a bank with $30,000. Now,
just like
at
it's
that
nothing,
point,
hey? Be like,
didn't know I had to pay taxes on this. Didn't know I had to all these things, pay my agent. So many things went into it, but I think it's a lot easier now. I think people are so much more knowledgeable because of the internet, and there's just so much out there to do your research, and a lot of it's done for you. So I think the ability is there. Having not grown up with money at all, I also, like, I had friends that paid for a lot of dinners when I went out, and to the bars when we were younger. So I felt an obligation to repay them with that stuff, not pay them cash, but take them out for dinners, take them out for drinks, have the bill that night, because they took care of me for a couple of years when I didn't have money. The easy way for me, I'm always looking. I never want to be the smartest person in the room, because I want to learn from someone else. And I want to know where to put my money. I want to know this. If I'm going to get into an investment with someone, I'm going to ask a million questions. But I'm not going to invest the money in itself. I'm not buying the fancy car. I bought a 4Runner as my first car, and I was literally, with my signing bonus, I took a lease. Didn't go buy the Corvette or whatever it was. I bought a 4Runner because it was practical. But I went to Rob Ray and I said, hey, do you have a financial advisor? Because I don't know anything. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything. I just want to make sure I'm protected. And he's hooked me up with a guy. His name's Jim O'Brien, Merrill Lynch. And I've been with Jimmy for 32 years.
Oh, good.
So, yeah. And different investments along the way. But listen, I'm going to get into an investment. I'm going to look it over. If it makes sense to me, then it's going to take the next level. That's going to my financial advisor and my lawyer. Now, does it make sense? You guys are smarter than I am. I can run a power play better than you. I can beat the shit out of you. I can probably beat you in golf. But financially and from the law perspective, that's your profession. Trust the professionals that know it better than you. I'm not buying putting all my money into XRP. I can promise that, even though I think it has a little place for a little bit of money.
Yeah, thank you for that. And to me, it's so interesting because, like, money, people always say take the emotion of money, but it's next to impossible. Like, this money thing is so emotionally evoking, but doing things like you're doing is getting a second opinion. Certainly is a way to help remove some of that. I see the time here. I'm just curious, and this is a fascinating question for me, is that people always talk about, does money buy happiness? Does money make us happier? Coming from, working at McDonald's for your $5 an hour or 5 a day, whatever it was. Looking back now, how, if it did, does money make you happy, or did it not?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. I was happy when I was poor.
I got that sense.
Yeah, I had a great life, but I never went on vacation. First time I went to Florida is when we played the Florida Panthers back in the day, and then Tampa Bay Lightning. That was my first vacation. I was a happy kid. I didn't have much. I didn't have a lot of clothes, and I love clothes. Like, I think I love clothes so much because I didn't have a lot of clothes growing up. So I love fashion. I like nice things, but I don't need the best of the best of whatever. I'm happy enough and I'm content. I can make it work without. Now, Do I like being able to afford a cottage and
Mhm.
jump on the boats and the jet skis and do that? Yes. Do I like going out to nice dinners? And listen, I never had steak growing up. Never. It was pork chop or chicken. Like craft dinner. I lived on McDonald's and craft dinner. So does can money help you be happier? I don't think it can make you be happier. It's money. Most divorces or things that go wrong, it's mostly financial. Mostly like a financial
Yes.
heartbreak or divorce, or you don't have it growing up. I don't think money makes you happier. I think having money alleviates a lot of stress that if you don't have it, then you're always searching how to get ahead. So I don't think it makes you happier. I think innately you are who you are. Money can reveal how big an asshole you are, and you're an asshole before you had the money. Now you just have money and you're a bigger asshole, but you were always an asshole. So I don't think it makes you happier. I just think money alleviates the stress of not having money and being able to do things that you wish you could do, which therefore creates happiness.
Matthew, your answer. Wonderful. I mean, this has been an interest of mine, and I've researched it and I studied it, and my dissertation was on money and happiness. And
Okay.
the research tells us that money can alleviate financial stress. It can curb us from distresses in life, exactly
Yeah.
what you said,
Yeah.
but it's not inherently going to make us a better person. It's not going to
No.
inherently make us happier. But of course, if I know I like to hang out with my friends and family at a cottage and I can buy a boat, of course I'm going to feel more enjoyment doing that. But
Yeah.
the money in itself, it's a
It's
winless
yes.
game if we just
It's
pursued it for the sake of the money's going to make me happier. It's you.
yeah. And it isn't. Listen, if tomorrow the boat's gone and the jet skis, I'm gonna find another way to have fun.
Mhm.
The difference is I'm happy because I don't have to wake up this morning and worry about, is the electricity on? Is my house paid for? Are my kids okay? That makes me happy because I don't it just makes my stress level so much less because I don't have to worry about that. They're
Mhm.
fine. I can get rid of the boat tomorrow morning and I'll be equally as fine. I'll grab the golf clubs and go play golf. And
Yeah.
if I don't belong to the golf club, I'm gonna go hang out with my buddies and watch a hockey game and drink beer. I'm gonna be equally as happy. The part comes when you can't afford to do normal things
Mhm.
or things that alleviate some of the stress. Stress is the number one thing when it comes down to it, and not being able to pay for things and stress about that every day. Of course, you're not going to be happy if you have to stress every day. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make you happier. It can make you an asshole, a bigger asshole. I've seen that a few
Well,
times.
but you said like it does, it can reveal our personalities, really, really can. And
Absolutely.
it's a fickle thing. Like it's hard
Yeah.
for not to like bring out our personalities, yeah, money. It's this interesting thing that I think we all wrestle with. Or not, I think we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like this brother, or it's like this spouse that we can never divorce and get rid of if we don't like it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
relationship that we have for the rest of our lives, and we got to learn how to be content with it. So,
And,
anyways,
and, and my wife owns a real estate company. She's very much on, you don't have to try to make as much as you can, but you need life balance.
Mm.
Like, there's a lot of successful people that just never stop. And do you want to be the richest guy in the graveyard? No, you want to enjoy your life and make others people experiences around you better. Like, she like, again, sometimes like I'm always trying to make more because
Yeah.
I'm a go-getter, and I want to be able to provide more for my family and more for my kids and leave them more. But she's like, do you really need to do this? And sometimes I'm like, yeah. And sometimes I'll disagree with her. I'll be like, yeah, I want it. I want to do that. I want to do this. But yeah, she's all about life balance, and she's been really good for me that way in learning not to chase everything and just sit back and enjoy it sometimes. And then when it's time to chase, you go, you work your ass off, but you also have to take time Like I'm at the cottage for a week by myself this week. And it's
Nice.
amazing because I just work and do my stuff and I don't worry about anything else. And then when I'm done here, then I worry about what the next gig is or what else I'm going to do next.
Makes me think about this idea: chop wood and carry water. Then you enjoy it, but then you got to do it again. And
Then you
like
got to do it again. Yeah.
I could see with your work, even at the Alzheimer tournament where we met, like this work, yeah, it pays. I assume it pays you, but there's a sense of meaning that I could see that you're just like enjoying this. And if you just like, it's fine to it. I mean, it's humans have always wanted to feel a sense of meaning. If you're getting paid for it, all the power to you. But yeah, take a week at the
Yeah.
cottage or whatever your break
Yeah.
is.
It's great. And when we met, like Alzheimer's is very close to me because my grandmother had it. And listen, there's not many people that aren't affected by that. And cancer, I'd say, are probably two, obviously mental health, but Alzheimer's is close to me because it's a terrible way to spend the later years or even earlier years. My former coach in Pee Wee has it now, and he's had it for 10 years. He's, I want to say 58, 59, and it's a terrible disease. So it is possible to go to these fundraisers, make some money, raise money for an unbelievable cause because all of them raise over $1 million, and to be a small cog in the wheel in these events and raise awareness, which is huge. And then you take the part, especially Alzheimer's, in former players that have passed away with CTE, the role that I played. Um, hey, I don't know in 5 years, I don't worry about it, but I'd have to be very naive and to not know that it's a definite possibility in the future that I could have some type because I'm at that risk, right? If you're a smoker, there's a good chance you get lung cancer. If you're an alcoholic, good chance you have cirrhosis of the liver and liver damage. So to be a fighter and fight 400 times between junior and the NHL and the AHL, to not think that at some point it could happen, I'd be pretty naive to think that. And I hate and love that players are like, oh, I didn't know the effects that it could have. Dude, someone's punching you in the head every time you go to work. Good chance you could have something when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Well, I know all those organizations appreciate yourself and the others who show up and really care. I didn't know about the personal connection there, the Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you know what? You can go there, enjoy your time, but know that you're doing it for a good cause. And it was
Right.
a blast
It's
having you
awesome.
on our team.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
It was good.
Great team. Great team. Yeah.
So as we come to an end here, I find your story fascinating, and this idea of identity really stood out for me. And win at all cost, to me, it translates to, like we've been talking about, doing the work. You know, you made a comment about how some generations, maybe this new one, I don't know, people, we'll say people, and there's many of them who think like, just give it to me. I don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
You're just like this beacon of light of like, nah, roll up the sleeves or drop the gloves and do the work.
Yeah.
When you have conversations about your life, your story, your journey, what parts do you start to think about that you're like, yeah, I'm good. That was a good, like, I'm proud of myself for that. Like maybe parts that don't always get brought up, but you get to look back and be like, I'm proud of myself for that.
I would say when I look back at my career, I just hope that every player I played with, every coach that coached me knew that I gave 100% every time I took the ice. And I was willing to do anything for my teammates to try to win. Did we always win? No. Did I always play great? Absolutely not. Did I always win my fights? No. But no, every time I went to the rink, that I literally was 100% committed to winning and being the best teammate I could be. And I hope the fans in any city that I played in absolutely love me. And the greatest compliment I get now is, when you post something, you're like, oh my God, I loved you as a player, your work ethic. That means more to me. Like everyone's like, is your favorite moment hat trick on Mother's Day? No, it was a great day. a culmination of amazing things that came together at once. It was my childhood favorite team, Montreal. It was the playoffs. My son was just born 8 days earlier. My wife's first Mother's Day. My mother was in the crowd because the baby was in town. Everything happened. It's not the best day. It was just a great day that it all happened. The best day is when I got drafted. I said that. It's the best day that ever happened to me was when I got drafted, because it was when hard work met opportunity, and I was very, very happy. But if I just look back, I hope the Buffalo Sabres, the Pittsburgh Penguins especially, but any fan base that I played in just knew how hard I wanted to win for them. And we had some successful runs, and we had some non-successful runs, but that's what I'm most proud about when I look back.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Every relationship, you want that person who's going to show up, do the work, and be
Yeah.
there for you. And it really sounds like that's what your career
I'm
was.
happy. We're retired since 08, and life's good. I'm very happy, and I love the friends that I still have in hockey, and get to see them at so many different events, and talk to Brad May, who's one of my best friends, and going to his golf tournament in a few weeks. So uh, just really, really privileged to have played a game and parlay that into a good career, and then post-career to be able to do this and talk to you and do other podcasts talking hockey and life in general, because I love football. I love talking politics. It's just a little bit of anything. As long as people can stay even keel, I'm okay with anything. But I'm also very passionate in all of it, any which way.
Well, thank you for your time. You mentioned Brad May. I hope you guys are staying away from Huntsville, Alabama. And
Yeah, no, we're not allowed back to Huntsville.
In closing here, a question that we've been asking everybody is, let's imagine life's ending. We talk about endings. Your career ended. Now you're in this new retired section of life, but it's coming to an end. It doesn't matter how old you are. You're sitting out on the front porch. Maybe it's this view I see behind you. And you decide to write your kids a letter on what a meaningful life meant to Matthew Barnaby. What would you write in that letter?
Wow, that's a great question. Mine would be very, very simple. Wow, I'm gonna cry. Having a hard time. It's very easy. Sorry.
That's
This is
right.
hard. I hope I made you proud as a dad. That's it.
Man, I'm a dad too, and that's my greatest desire. Thank you for that.
That's it. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. I mean,
yeah, that's
as
it.
parents, we all get it.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with hockey or no. Just hope I made you proud as a dad. That's it. Thanks for making me cry.
Matthew. Thank you for I guess doing what you did your whole career. You showed up. You had an authentic, good conversation here, and I know listeners, this is we like to hear stories. We like to hear real stories. People telling the real parts of it, not just the glamour, not just the sugarcoating. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
This.
I appreciate it. Anytime you want to do it, let me know.
All right. And I'm going to make sure in the show notes, your book, I really enjoyed that book. It's
awesome. Thank you.
I never connected the Rudy thing, but I honestly think there's a movie here, except it's like Rudy with this, like, unfortunately, Rudy didn't go on to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
But,
no, I know. It's funny. I've talked to people. Some people have a problem, nothing serious, but they're like, you should do a movie, man. Like, yeah. I think it would be great. It would be fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Before we close out, I want to leave you with a question that was inspired from my conversation with Matthew Barnaby. The question is, what are you telling yourself about who you are? Where did that story begin? As we discussed, we all have stories, and they're all navigating us through our own journeys of life. These aren't easy questions, but they're important ones, because when we understand our personal narratives, our stories, we can gain the power to shape it instead of being shaped by it. If you enjoyed this conversation with Matthew Barnaby or any other conversations, please share our thoughts with us. Head over to YouTube to the YouPotential page, subscribe to the show, leave a review, and make a comment. We're building a community here, one story at a time, and thank you for being part of it. Until next time, take care.